What if I told you that two strangers from opposite worlds built a solution that saved thousands, not because they had money, but because they refused to quit? This isn't just a story about recovery. It's about purpose, pain, and the power of rising when life knocks you flat. Ethan Lewis was born into a world of expectations. His father owned a mid-sized tech company in the heart of London, and his mother was a well-known professor of sociology. Their home was filled with books, polished marble floors, and a long list of unspoken rules. Every wall in their house whispered of achievements, his parents' degrees, awards, recognitions, and every room echoed with silence unless it was time to discuss future plans. From a young age, Ethan was taught to aim higher, to excel, to never settle for anything less than extraordinary. But despite all the resources at his disposal, private tutors, elite schools, access to powerful networks, something always felt missing. He often caught himself staring out of the window during class, wondering what it would be like to just breathe, to just exist without pressure pressing against his lungs. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, in a neighborhood few from Ethan's world would ever visit, lived Emily Hart. Her life couldn't have been more different. Emily grew up in a crumbling apartment block on the outskirts of East London. Her father had left when she was 9, and her mother worked 2 cleaning jobs to keep food on the table. Emily's world was made of second-hand clothes, borrowed textbooks, and an unwavering determination to rise above her circumstances. She was the kind of girl who smiled through her struggles, whose silence carried more strength than any shout. She didn't have a room of her own, just a corner of the living room, where she kept her books stacked high like a fortress. She would read under dim light while her younger siblings slept nearby. Her mother often called her the strong one, and Emily hated that, not because it wasn't true, but because it meant she wasn't allowed to fall apart. One summer morning, their worlds collided. Both Ethan and Emily had applied, unknowingly, for the same prestigious summer research program hosted by a university downtown. The selection was blind and based solely on merit. When the final list came out, Ethan's name was expected. Emily's was not. On the first day, Ethan arrived in a sleek black car, wearing a tailored shirt and holding a new laptop. Emily walked 3 bus stops in worn-out sneakers, her entire backpack filled with handwritten notes. They sat on opposite sides of the room, divided not by space, but by experience. The mentor, Professor Daniels, was a firm believer in pairing opposites. "Growth doesn't happen in comfort," he would say. So naturally, he paired Ethan with Emily. Their first interaction was cold. "Hi, Ethan," he said, extending a hand. "Emily," she replied, shaking it briefly. "You're late," he added, noticing she arrived just moments before the session began. "I walk," she said matter-of-factly, and opened her notebook. Ethan raised an eyebrow but said nothing. He wasn't used to people being so blunt, so unaffected by his background. Emily, on the other hand, wasn't impressed by polished manners or branded shoes. She had met enough people who talked smooth but never listened. Their assignment was to research sustainable tech solutions for urban housing, a topic that, ironically, sat at the intersection of both their lives. Ethan, with his tech-savvy upbringing, Emily with her real-world struggles of poor infrastructure and neglected communities. For the first week, they barely spoke outside of work. Ethan thought Emily was too serious. Emily thought Ethan was too privileged. But then, something shifted. During a brainstorming session, Emily proposed an idea inspired by her own neighborhood: a low-cost, air-purifying window attachment made from recycled materials. Ethan laughed softly. "That's creative, but not really feasible." Emily's eyes narrowed. "Why not?" It sounds too simple." Emily stood up, walked to the board, and started sketching out the concept, layer by layer. Ethan watched in silence as her rough sketch began to take shape into something truly innovative. "This isn't just an idea," she said. "It's a necessity where I come from." Ethan leaned forward, intrigued. "All right, show me the science behind it." They spent the rest of the evening debating, designing, and even laughing, the ice slowly melting between them. Over the next few weeks, their collaboration deepened. Emily showed Ethan the power of simplicity, of solving real problems for real people. Ethan, in return, introduced her to tools and platforms that could help scale her ideas. Their conversations shifted from technical to personal. "Do you ever feel like you're pretending to be someone you're not?" Ethan asked one evening, while waiting for the bus with Emily. "All the time," she replied, "but I don't have the luxury to stop pretending." He looked at her, truly looked at her, and realized how little he actually knew about strength. Emily, in turn, saw something in Ethan she hadn't expected: vulnerability. Behind the expensive watch and calculated words was a boy who had never been allowed to fail, who had been told what to be his entire life. They were both, in their own ways, broken. And in that brokenness, they found a strange kind of comfort. But life wasn't about to let them rest easy. During the third week of the program, Emily received a call. Her mother had collapsed at work. Exhaustion, the doctors said. Malnutrition, likely. Stress, certainly. Emily packed up her things in silence. "You're leaving?" Ethan asked, walking into the lab just as she zipped her backpack. "My family needs me," she said. "This research can wait." "Let me help," he offered. Emily shook her head. "You can't." But Ethan wasn't used to hearing no and doing nothing. That evening, he visited her apartment building for the first time. It was cramped, noisy, and miles away from anything he called familiar. He saw Emily's siblings, a boy drawing on the floor, a girl watching cartoons on a cracked tablet. And he saw Emily, cooking dinner with a quiet urgency. She didn't smile when she saw him. "What are you doing here?" "I just wanted to understand." "Well, now you do. You should go." But he didn't. Instead, he sat with her brother and helped him fix the broken toy truck. He cleaned the dishes after dinner. He stayed until Emily's mother, pale but conscious, was able to whisper a tired, "Thank you." As he left, Emily walked him to the door. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "I know," he replied, "but maybe I needed to." Something changed that night, not just between Ethan and Emily, but inside them. They began to see each other not as opposites, but as puzzle pieces that somehow made more sense together. Ethan learned that hardship didn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it was quiet, constant, and invisible. Emily learned that privilege didn't always come with arrogance. Sometimes it came with guilt, confusion, and a longing to break free. The final weeks of the program flew by. Together they completed their prototype and presented it to the board. The judges were impressed not just by the innovation, but by the unlikely partnership. "You've created something meaningful," one judge said. "And perhaps more importantly, you've created it together." As the program ended, Emily was offered a part-time research role at the university lab, a position that would help her support her family while continuing her education. Ethan declined a summer internship abroad, choosing instead to join the same lab. "Why'd you turn it down?" Emily asked, surprised. "Because some things matter more than names on a resume," he replied. "And besides, I think we've just started building something important here." For the first time in a long time, both of them felt like they were exactly where they needed to be. Not because life had made it easy, but because they had chosen not to give up. Not on the project, not on themselves, not on each other. As Ethan and Emily started working at the university lab, the reality of commitment and purpose hit harder. Balancing her research and caring for her family pushed Emily to the edge. Ethan struggled too. Not financially, but emotionally. For the first time, He was making decisions on his own, without his parents dictating his path. One night, Emily broke down. "I'm tired, Ethan. I don't know if I can keep carrying everyone." Ethan sat beside her quietly and said, "Then let me carry you for a while." That moment taught Emily the power of accepting help. Life doesn't expect you to be strong all the time. It expects you to keep going, even if someone else walks beside you. Meanwhile, Ethan was learning humility. When a funding proposal he wrote was rejected, he was crushed. But Emily reminded him, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. They picked each other up and kept climbing. A big company approached Ethan, offering him a massive opportunity, a fast track to wealth and prestige. But they had one condition. He had to leave the community lab project and take the patent for their invention with him. Emily was heartbroken. You have to choose, money or meaning. Ethan spent sleepless nights weighing the decision, but in the end, he walked into the meeting and said, "I don't want to build something for people. I want to build something with them." He turned down the offer. Instead, Ethan and Emily founded a nonprofit initiative to bring affordable clean air tech to low-income communities. The same invention that started as an assignment became their shared mission. Years passed. Their project grew. They traveled to schools, slums, hospitals, installing their air-purifying windows, training youth, and inspiring hope. Emily's family finally moved into a better home. Ethan, once a boy shaped by expectations, became a man led by empathy. At a community event, a little girl hugged Emily and said, "Thank you for helping us breathe better." Emily smiled and looked at Ethan. This is worth more than any paycheck." They never became billionaires, but they became something greater. Proof that change happens when two broken people decide to build something whole. The moral of this story is that hardship doesn't break you. It builds you. Real strength isn't measured by how much you endure alone, but by how much light you bring when you rise and help others up with you.